guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about Port Orleans French Quarter. Now I know I've talked a lot about Port Orleans Riverside, which is one of my favorite resorts in Disney World. It's one of the moderates, but today I thought I'd talk to you about Port Orleans French Quarter. Now, way back when, Port Orleans French Quarter was known as Port Orleans, and Port Orleans Riverside was known as Dixie Landings. Port Orleans is technically considered one resort, but you have Port Orleans French Quarter and Port Orleans Riverside. So Riverside has the bayous and the mansions, and Port Orleans French Quarter, not surprisingly, is like the French Quarter in New Orleans. They are connected by the Sassagoula Riverway and is in the Disney Springs area. So both, I think of them as two separate hotels. I think most people do. But both of the resorts, or both parts of the resorts, both have boat docks. So you can get on the boat and go to Disney Springs via boats. That's kind of cool. So how are these two resorts, or parts of the resort again, how are they different? Well, Riverside is quite large, and Port Orleans French Quarter is much, much smaller. They only have 7 buildings with 3 floors each. 7 buildings with rooms in them. I mean, they have like a main building and etc. But they have 7 guest room buildings. Each have 3 floors for a total of 1,008 rooms. And that's pretty small by Disney resort standards. In fact, they don't even have the option to have a preferred room. And really, it's because it's not necessary. The purpose of the preferred rooms at the Disney hotels are to make sure you're closer to the main building, the food court, that type of thing. So it's really not necessary. They only have 1 bus stop as opposed to at Riverside, where they have 4 bus stops, I believe. And they also have a food court like the other moderate resorts. They have, and the Valley resorts have food courts as well. But the moderate resort food courts, I think, are a bit nicer. And the one at Port Orleans French Quarter is called the Sassagoula Floatworks and Food Factory. Rolls off the tongue. We were actually there earlier this year in February, after we ran the Disney Princess Half Marathon, because I wanted beignets. I ran 13 miles, I wanted a beignet. So we were staying at Riverside, so we drove over to French Quarter and got a beignet in there, or like 3 beignets in their food court, and it was very nice. Texting. Yes, and their food court was very nice. Now the difference in terms of food is that Port Orleans French Quarter no longer has a sit-down table service restaurant. And I know this might be an issue for some people. I really don't consider it to be an issue, because when we have stayed at Disney properties, we don't always eat at their table service restaurants. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So I don't think it's absolutely necessary, as long as you have some kind of food there. And if you think about the boardwalk, on the boardwalk, the deluxe resort, they actually don't have any restaurants in the hotel. You have to go down to the boardwalk to get something to eat, or to Epcot, or to one of the other hotels on the boardwalk. So that's really not unusual. But boardwalk doesn't even have a quick service restaurant. So the food court at Port Orleans French Quarter is actually not limiting, I would say. It's, like I said, very nice. And they have beignets, really. What more do you need than beignets? The food court is open from 6 a.m. to midnight. And now they don't serve all meals, all times of day, obviously. So say from like 6 to 10, they serve breakfast or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, they're open from 6 a.m. to midnight. In addition to the food court, they also have the option for pizza delivery. And that is called, don't tell me, Sassagoula Pizza Express. And that is open from 4 p.m. to midnight. Like I said, you can get it delivered. There's a $3 delivery charge, and they request a $15 minimum. And if you are on the Disney dining plan, you can actually use 2 table service meals to have the pizza delivered. And I do believe they have other foods too, like breadsticks and probably pastas. I imagine Italian food kind of thing. Okay, so what else is at Port Orleans French Quarter in terms of funsies? So they have 1 pool, and that is called the Doubloon Lagoon. I don't know why. What does a doubloon even mean? It sounds piratey. Doesn't it sound, I think it sounds piratey. I'm not sure. But they have one pool, the Doubloon Lagoon, and it has a slide, and they have a separate splash pad area that was opened in March of 2016. So that's nice if you have small kids. Additionally, they also have a separate hot tub, so it's not connected to the pool, and they have a pool bar, which I think is so clever. It's called Mardi Gras Pool Bar. Mardi Gras. Oh, I can't handle it. Additionally, they also have Scat Cats Club, which is a jazzy club lounge, and that is open from 4 p.m. to midnight. Now, from Saturday to Tuesday, from, let's see what time, 8:30 to 11, they also have live entertainment there, so it's another option. So they have a couple of choices if you want to drink and have some fun if you're an adult at Port Orleans French Quarter. They also have the Caricature Connection, where they draw caricatures from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. They also have South Quarter Games, which is open 24 hours and games, you know, like an arcade. They also have Jackson Square Gifts and Desires is what it's called. They have really long names there. I have to keep like reading them. I don't know why they can't shorten them up. So Jackson Square Gifts and Desires is their gift shop, sundries store that they have at the resort. And not surprisingly, it is smaller than the one at Port Orleans Riverside because it's a much smaller resort. It's just not necessary. But they have the same types of things. They usually have some snack items there. They have resort-specific merchandise. They have some first aid kinds of things and sunscreen, that type of thing. Lastly, they have a laundry room, and this, I think, is terribly clever. It's called Laundry on the Levee. I think that's just genius. And the laundry room has internet connection, meaning the washing machines, you can actually use like an app or their website to see which machines are open, and you can see when your load of laundry is done on your phone, if you're by the pool, if you're in your room, wherever. So you don't have to just sit in the laundry room while you're on your Disney vacation waiting for your clothes to wash. I think that's genius. Now, like all Disney resorts, unfortunately, all rooms booked since March of this year of 2018, there is now a parking fee if you are going to park your car at a Disney resort. And the moderate fee, Port Orleans French Quarter is a moderate, so the fee here would be $19 per car per night, and you are charged that fee when you check out. So if you made your room reservation prior to March of this year, but are traveling after March of this year, you don't have to pay it. It's just for packages and room reservations booked after this started in March. Something to note about Port Orleans French Quarter is that it is almost always excluded from discounts. So I think in the 5 years I've been doing this, I have seen Port Orleans French Quarter eligible for a discount like once. So if you're going to stay there, it's safe to presume that you will be paying, well, it's safe to presume you'll be paying the full rate anyway. You should never count on a discount. And if you've been with me for a while, I've said that many, many times. I'm sure you've heard that. But especially at Port Orleans French Quarter and the standard Little Mermaid rooms at Art of Animation, they're almost always excluded from discounts. I think it was just in this last one where they were eligible, and even then the eligibility was horrible. But yeah, I think it's just because, well, especially at Port Orleans French Quarter, because it's so small, a lot of people want to stay there, and it's really not necessary for Disney to provide a discount because they're already filling up the rooms. So they don't really have a benefit of discounting the rooms that are already filled up. They're just going to lose money on that, if that makes sense. However, unlike the standard Little Mermaid rooms at Art of Animation, which cost more than the other standard value resort rooms, Port Orleans French Quarter does not cost more than the other moderates. So if you're going to stay in a standard room at Port Orleans French Quarter, you're going to be paying the same roughly. I mean, within a couple of dollars. There's not as big of a difference as there is in the value resorts. I probably could have said that with fewer words. Yes. So that's everything that I have in my notes about Port Orleans French Quarter. My husband and I are going to be staying there coming up on our next Disney trip, so I'm very excited. So you can look forward to a room tour when we stay there, and I might do some filming around the resort too. We'll see. Maybe at least take some pictures so I can put it in the video as well, and I can do a full recap. and tell you how I liked it. Because as of right now, like I said, we've just eaten there and we've walked around and it looks very nice, but we've not stayed there. So I look forward to doing that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys found this helpful. Bye.